Hey guys, Fletch Football Observer here, and today's video is gonna be another Premier League preview show. The international break is over and the Premier League finally returns for Game 5 of the new season. There are some big games in store and I'm gonna preview them all and give my predictions on all of them games in this round. So without further ado, let's begin. We're going to begin with a trip to Vicarage Road, where Watford begin a new chapter with a familiar face in charge. Last weekend, news broke that the Hornets had sacked Javi Gracia following a poor start to the season and had instantly replaced him with a former Watford manager in Quique Sanchez Flores. And who is Sanchez Flores' first opponent? None other than Unai Emery's Arsenal, who have so far taken 7 points from a possible 12. Will Flores get off to the perfect start during his second spell in charge of Watford, or will the Gunners spoil his return? This game could be a bit of an uncomfortable start for Flores, as this is basically his inherited Watford side with a defence that has been leaking a lot of chances and a lot of goals already this season so far, against an Arsenal side who on paper have a lot of firepower going forward. Of course, on the flip side, facing a newly appointed manager is always a slight mystery too, and often it can throw up a bit of a shock result in which the seemingly underdogs manage to pull off a bit of a shock result. However, I don't see this happening here. I wouldn't be completely surprised if the Hornets got something from this game, but at the same time, I'm going to say that I'm going to play it safe and predict an Arsenal victory. My prediction is Arsenal to win by 3-1, with Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang getting on the score sheet. Our next game takes us to one of the 5 3 o'clock kickoffs on Saturday, and it's going to be Manchester United hosting Leicester at Old Trafford as the focus for this one. The international break possibly came at the right time for United, as they have only accumulated 5 points from a possible 12, with their last result being a 1-1 draw with Southampton. Whilst Leicester are one of 3 Premier League teams that remain unbeaten so far this season, as before the international break, the Foxes beat Bournemouth by 3-1. Will United end Leicester's unbeaten run here, or will Leicester heap more misery onto United and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? United's season began well and now has slightly taken a bit of a nosedive, whilst Leicester's start has gone a little bit under the radar. This game will be an interesting one. United look vulnerable and are lacking quality and other key attributes in key areas, whilst Leicester are playing well and certainly will fancy their chances here. Of course, the focus here will be on Harry Maguire returning to his former club, but despite that, I think Leicester will get the last laugh here, as I think they will go on to win this game. My prediction is the Foxes will win 2-1, with Jamie Vardy scoring for Leicester. Molineux plays host for our next game, in which Wolves entertain Chelsea. Wolves' start to the season hasn't been as good of a start as what many people were expecting from their great campaign last season, as they've only managed to collect 3 points from their first 4 games. Whilst Chelsea have had a mixed start to the season under new manager Frank Lampard, and their last game certainly mimicked their early season form, going 2-0 up against Sheffield United, only for the Blades to pull it back and end up taking a point come the final whistle. Will Wolves bounce back from their last defeat here, or will Chelsea pick up their second victory of the season? The international break probably came at the right time for Wolves. The early stages of the Europa League had perhaps taken its toll on them, and it was reflected in their early league performances. But with the break now over, it could have been what they had needed. As for Chelsea though, inconsistent early form, but you can tell that they're going to be entertaining to watch this season at both ends of the pitch. As for a result for this game, I'm going to say that this game will end in a draw. I can also see Wolves possibly even winning this one, but I'm going to play it safe and say a draw, and the scoreline I'm predicting is going to be 2-2. Next on this list, we're down at the seaside as Brighton host Burnley at the Amex Stadium. The Seagulls suffered a 4-0 hammering at the hands of Manchester City in their last game, whilst Burnley also lost in their last game to Liverpool in a 3-0 defeat. So the question here is, which side will bounce back in this game? Both sides have had pretty much identical starts to the season, but both can pretty much write their last games off as a free swing. They were expected to lose in both, and obviously that did happen. As for this game though, this is certainly a game that could go either way, and I'm going to have to predict this one down the middle and say that I'm calling for a draw in this one. I'm going to predict a 1-1 draw. Mauricio Pochettino's Tottenham meet Roy Hodgson's Crystal Palace in our next game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Before the international break, Tottenham had accumulated 5 points from their first 4 games, as last time out they had the North London derby to contend with, and they came away with a point following a 2-2 draw. Whilst Palace had surprised some people with the start they've made to this season, picking up a total of 7 points out of a possible 12, with their last result being a victory, albeit slightly controversial, over Aston Villa. Will Tottenham pick up the 3 points here, or will Palace stun Tottenham and make it 3 wins on the bounce? Not being an entirely amazing start to the season by Spurs by any means, whilst a slightly more surprising one in a good way for Palace. The international break may have came at the right time for Spurs, a chance to put off the pitch issues to rest and get their season back on track. And with that being said, I would expect Tottenham to actually go on and win this game. My prediction for this game is a Spurs victory, and for them to do it by 3-1, with Harry Kane getting on the score sheet for the home side. Norwich take on Premier League champions Manchester City in our next game on this list, as Pep Guardiola's side look to maintain their unbeaten start to the season. Last time out, Norwich were defeated by West Ham in a 2-0 loss for the newly promoted side, while City had accumulated 10 points from possible 12, with their last result being a comfortable 4-0 victory over Brighton. Will Norwich stun City here, or will City be victorious once again? In all honesty, I fear for Norwich in this game. If they play how they've been playing all season without any sort of tactical changes or anything like that, and with the form that the likes of Kevin De Bruyne, Raheem Sterling and Sergio Aguero in for City, the Canaries could seriously be on the wrong end of a huge scoreline. Of course, at the other end, it seems all Teemu Pukki needs is half a chance to test the opposition, but unless City are having a very bad day at the office, Norwich are extremely unlikely to be outscoring City in this game. In saying that, I'm going to predict a 5-1 scoreline in favour of Pep Guardiola's side, with the 3 City superstars that I had previously mentioned all getting on the score sheet. In our next game on this list, we're at Villa Park, as this game will be taking place on Monday night when Aston Villa take on West Ham. Last time out, Villa fans were left fuming as VAR seemed to deny them a late equaliser against Crystal Palace, and so in the end, Villa recorded their 3rd loss of the season already, whilst the Hammers secured back-to-back wins with a 2-0 victory over Norwich last time out. Will Villa bounce back with a win here, or will West Ham make it 3 wins in a row? Villa have probably been a little unfortunate so far this season to have not picked up more points, especially in their previous game, and as for the Hammers, back-to-back wins secured, 7 points out of 12 acquired. Things are looking a little better for Manuel Pellegrini's side, all things considered. As for this game though, I think West Ham may just edge this game, but Villa earning something from this game wouldn't be surprising either. I'm going to predict a 2-1 Hammers victory, with Sebastian Haller to continue his scoring run for the away side. Bramall Lane is the setting for our next game, as the Blades take on the Saints when Sheffield United clash with Southampton. Before the international break, Sheffield United fought back from 2 goals down to draw with Chelsea, while Southampton also earned a point in their game, which was against Manchester United in a 1-1 draw. Which side is going to take all 3 points here? The Blades currently sit with 5 points, and that is probably a better start than what most people thought they would achieve. Whilst the Saints have enjoyed a tricky start to the season, but the past couple of results have seemed to steady things just a little bit. This should be an interesting game ahead and a difficult game to call. I'm torn between a draw and a Saints win. I'm going to stick my neck out on a line and say Southampton will just edge this game in a 2-1 win, although I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Blades manage to earn something from this game. And in our penultimate game on this list, we're at Anfield for the Saturday lunchtime game as Liverpool take on Newcastle United. Liverpool are the only team in the Premier League to currently hold a perfect record with 4 wins from 4 games, whilst Newcastle have gained 4 points from their first 4 games. with their last result being a 1-1 draw with Watford. Will Liverpool maintain their perfect start here, or will Newcastle stun the Reds and halt their perfect run? It's hard to see anything other than a Liverpool win here, but before you go putting your money on them to definitely win, there's a couple of things to consider and bear in mind. First, Newcastle managed to pull off a great victory against Spurs a few weeks ago, in a game that many people had seemed certain Spurs were going to win. And also, the international break can sometimes disrupt a team's momentum, and that of course is a risk for the Reds here. However, with all that being said, I would expect the Reds to be victorious here regardless, and I'm going to be predicting a 3-0 Liverpool win with Roberto Firmino and Mohamed Salah both getting on the score sheet. And in our final game, the Cherries meet the Toffees as Eddie Howe's Bournemouth clash with Marco Silva's Everton at the Vitality Stadium. Last time out, Bournemouth were beaten by Leicester by 3-1, whilst Everton were victorious in their game, coming out as 3-2 winners against Wolves, meaning that the Toffees have now claimed 7 points from their opening 4 games. Will Bournemouth bounce back here, or will the Toffees enter a double-figured points tally come the final whistle? Two teams who on their day can be very good or very bad. Basically, I'm saying that these two teams are very inconsistent, and as a result, this should be a very interesting and very open game. My prediction for this one is that Bournemouth and Everton will endure a 2-2 draw. Honestly, I can see this game going either way. It's very difficult to call. So that's why I'm going to call it down the middle and say this is going to be a 2-2 draw. I will also predict that both Josh King and Richarlison will get on the score sheet for their respective clubs. And that wraps up this Premier League preview show for Game 5 of the 2019-2020 season. Guys, if you have any thoughts, comments or predictions of your own on any of the round's fixtures, I'd love to read them in the comments section below. Otherwise, hit that like button on the way out if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new or want to see more content like this. Both things would be greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch the Football Observer. This has been another Premier League preview show, and I will see and speak with you all again soon in another video.